with the Ingram angle. Congressman James Comer and Jim Jordan are sending a letter to the HHS Secretary Becerra launching an investigation into COVID's origins. Now, while demanding that the individuals you see on the screen right now appear before the Oversight Committee, they are identified in the letter as the P3CO. According to Congressman Comer and Jordan, these individuals have never been publicly identified, other than Dr. Hassel, but they work to approve taxpayer dollars for gain-of-function research. Remember the EcoHealth Alliance? Now, this move will surely send shockwaves through the NIH, HHS, and the Biden administration. Will anyone in the media actually cover it? We will. Joining us exclusively, incoming chair of the House Oversight Committee, James Comer, and Oversight Committee member Jim Jordan. Congressman Comer, let's start with you. Why have these names been hidden until now? And what were their actual roles in approving the money that ultimately went to gain-of-function research?
Well, no one in the Congress has been serious about determining the origination of COVID. No one's held this Dr. Fauci administration accountable for the decisions they've made or the decisions Dr. Collins made at NIH. So we've been doing the research behind the scenes in the minority for 2 years. We've identified all the individuals in the government, specifically at HHS, that had any role, also at NIH, in funding the gain-of-function research at the Wuhan lab with our tax dollars. Now we're making these names public, and we're asking them to come in and do an interview with us in January when we become the majority.
Now, Congressman Jordan, I know money went through EcoHealth Alliance. That's run by Peter Daszak, who also should be interviewed by your committee. I'm sure he'll be up there. How does this work? So the money goes to EcoHealth Alliance. EcoHealth Alliance then partners with the Wuhan lab on various research. And then what happens?
Well, EcoHealth got the American tax dollars. They were a company that wasn't properly vetted, as we just pointed out. They didn't comply with their grant contract. They then sent the money to a lab in Wuhan, China, a lab that wasn't up to code and a lab that was doing gain-of-function research. And what happens? A deadly virus breaks out in that city where that lab is at. And they try to tell us, oh, no, it didn't start in a lab. It was a bat to a pangolin, to a hippopotamus, to Joe Rogan, and 6 million people get the virus around the world. They actually, that's still their story. Now, we have documents, too, that we've uncovered thus far in investigation. Here's one from Daszak to NIAID, where he says, Dear Jenny, this is terrific. We are happy to hear that our gain-of-function research funding pause has been lifted. It was lifted.
Obama lifted the pause, remember.
Here's the other one. NIAID, this is from Health and Human Services to Daszak, to his company, EcoHealth. NIAID re-reviewed. Now, there's an interesting term. NIAID re-reviewed your grant application. The experiments to generate SARS-like coronaviruses are not subject to the HHS P3CO framework. So they're not subject to the typical review process. So they bypassed the review process, and they took the lift off the gain of function. And Shazam, what happens? A deadly virus breaks out in the very place where American tax dollars were sent to Wuhan, China. And what does Fauci do when and here's the other key thing. Fauci knew all this on February 1st, 2020, 3 years ago. What does he do with that information? Does he tell the president, the commander-in-chief, that a deadly virus...
He covered it up.
No, he did a conference call where they get their story straight. He didn't tell the president. He didn't tell the White House chief of staff. Maybe most importantly, he didn't tell Redfield, Dr. Birx, Dr. Cadlick. He didn't tell the other experts in the government. He got this conference call together to get their story straight and keep that information from the American people. And that's why what we've launched here is so darn important, because we don't want it ever to happen
again. Now, to that point, Congressman Comer, in the letter that you wrote Fauci, you said, because you and your agency have been at the center of the pandemic response since its inception, your documents and your testimony are essential to informing the committee about what the U.S. government knew regarding the origins of COVID and when the government knew it. Now, this would be the biggest scandal of all time if it turns out that indirectly or in some way, U.S. government tax dollars went to the ultimate creation of the virus that killed millions and millions of people worldwide and hundreds of thousands of Americans. The biggest scandal of all time, correct?
You're correct. And we are suffering the consequences every day. Our kids are behind in school. Businesses
people are
were
dead.
shut down. The whole supply chain's been disrupted, all because of decisions that Dr. Fauci and Dr. Collins made. And now we find out what we've known all along, that our tax dollars were going there despite what Dr. Fauci said initially. And none of these employees that had anything to do with overseeing the grant to make sure the grant was in compliance, as Jim said, they were never in compliance. And they got funded again, by the way a few weeks ago. They need to come before Congress. They need to explain their decision making and be held accountable.
Well, Fauci, by the way, defended the Chinese researchers on this show in February of 2020, before the pandemic was announced. Now, Congressman Jordan, the New York Times tonight is reporting that there is bipartisan legislation to create what they're calling a 9/11-style panel to investigate the pandemic response. They see that, you know, people are concerned about what you guys are uncovering, I think, but that the White House is privately resisting it.
Go figure. Yeah,
now,
go figure.
Why are they working so hard to get just a modest level of accountability? Forget full accountability. How about any accountability?
I don't know, but probably because everything they told us turned out to be false. They told us it wasn't our money, told us it wasn't gain-of-function research, told us it didn't start in a lab, told us that the vaccinated couldn't get it, told us that the vaccinated couldn't transmit it, told us that there was no such thing as natural immunity. First virus in history where you can't have natural. I mean, so everything they told us turned out to be false. So maybe that's the reason. But we should have legislation passed, and the White House should support this, that would ban American tax dollars being used in any way for gain-of-function. That should be one of the things that comes out of this investigation we're doing. Ban that type of stuff from happening. Certainly ban it from going to a lab in China where they're doing.
I don't even understand why we're doing any research in China, frankly. I mean,
I don't either.
They like keep their people in slave camps with neck chains on them. Like, why are we doing anything in China? I mean, I mean, I'm sure there are brilliant scientists in China, but we don't have the safeguards or the access. We never got the access to the Wuhan lab or any of the documents or patient zero. We don't know who patient zero is to this day, correct?
Still don't know. Still don't know.
Congressman, this is just, I cannot wait to see what you uncover, and best of luck to you. We'll be covering it every step of the way. Thank you.